Hello and welcome to Stand Up World episode 53. We have a good show. I have to tell you, Carmen Lynch is the guest today. And you know, it's really funny because I was thinking, and I don't think in terms of men comics anymore because I like great stand-ups. But there's so many strong women comics. They're just like, because I was a snob. I really was. I'm the first to admit it. I was like, women aren't that funny. They're just, because when I was growing up, there was Joan Rivers or Lily Tomlin, basically, and, some crazy country lady with a funny hat with a price tag on it. I don't even remember her name. And then, when I got back to the Comedy Store, I was looking at there was great. In my era there was Carol Leifer, who was a killer, and Sandra Bernhardt, and of course Elaine Boozler was a little ahead of me, but she was a monster, and Lois Bromfeld was just amazing, and there was great comics, but it was like the Jews were a bigger percentage of America than women were of the comedy scene. I could just rattle off killer men, and then when I got to do the Comedy Store documentary, it was kind of the same. There were murderers, Whitney and Eliza, obviously, and Tiffany Haddish and Sarah Silverman and Nikki Glazer. And then Annie Letterman, who was like an up and comer. She's a powerhouse. But now if you look at it, it's Jessica Kirsten, Leanne Morgan, Catherine Blanford, Rosebud, Leah Rudick, Erica Rhodes, Lunette, Andrea Appalucia, Bridget Phetasy, Yamanika, Rachel Feinstein, Rachel Wolfson, Catherine Ryan, Jesse Johnston, Steph Tolov, is that her name? Steph Tolov?
Yeah, Tolov, yeah.
Ms. Pat, Beth Stelling, Taylor Thompson, Nicole Byer. It just goes and goes. They're all killers, murderers.
Right.
That's
so true.
Wait, what's got I'm blanking. What's her name? She did a podcast with Annie. She's brilliant. Just played the Wilbur. Esther.
Yeah.
They're all just, and then Carmen Lynch. Carmen, her new special she's just so on it. She's so on it. She kind of reminds me a little bit of Jeffrey Asmus. And I just feel like, she just has it. She's been doing it a long time. It's pretty obvious, but I just feel like we're in an age where sometimes, I guess, I don't know what it is. Something in the water in New York. These women, all the comics,
witty. Yeah,
I think not all the comics. They got a punch to them coming out of New York. Mark Norman and Sam Morril, but Carmen really she's in that tradition. She's a killer. And we should get her on, get going.
Let's do it.
What do you think?
Let's do it.
Carmen Lynch. Carmen Lynch, how are you?
Oh, so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on your show. It's great, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
I love your podcast.
We're just starting and we're having fun, and I'm just loving the world of stand-up again. I was lucky, I was a freak for it as a kid, and I did it till I was, I think, like 30, and then maybe 27 or something. I don't know. But anyway, I took years off. I got out of it, and then I got back into it, and I'm like, on fire, and I just love it. And I'm at a place where I can really appreciate other comedians too, which is really great.
It must feel so fresh now again,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes. And I really, I say this a lot because it's true. What I love is the new world, where you don't have to get on the Tonight Show and everyone can make their own path into town, and I just like what you're doing now. You're putting out 2 specials at one time, one in Spanish, one in Hebrew. I think that's so smart.
That was actually really hard for me. It's something I wanted to do for a while, the English one,
Or
and
the
then
Hebrew. Yeah.
the Hebrew one, and then COVID happened, and I was completely thrown off. And then I'm like, what am I doing? I'm doing it in Spanish. I might as well just do both. And it was quite stressful, honestly, but I'm glad I did it.
Now, did you do the Spanish one at the Cellar too?
No, I flew to Spain. I went to Barcelona. That's where my family's from. So
Oh,
three
wow.
weeks after performing at the Cellar, taping it at the Cellar, I flew to Barcelona and I recorded it at the room where my parents met. There's actually a lounge. My mother's from Catalunya, so but there's a lounge there. It's like a bar lounge, and it's called Jamboree. And they met there a million years ago. And I recorded at the one next to it called the Jamboree 3. And It's the
Wow.
same. I think they're connected on the inside, but it was a total coincidence that I recorded it like where they met.
Wait, you didn't seek that room out?
No, actually, I was asking other comics out there that I've known for a few. I'm like, what would be a good room that's not like the size of the Cellar? Because everybody knows the Cellar out there. And I'm like, I don't know people in Spain. So what's a small, cute room? And they're like, what about the Jamboree? And I was like, wait, the Jamboree, like the one on Plaza Real, like this main plaza? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's perfect. That's where my parents met.
Wow. And my grandfather's from there.
From Catalonia?
Yeah.
Oh, from where?
I just know I don't know the
Oh,
specifics. 'Cause he- 'cause he-
too many questions.
Yeah, he moved to Miami, but
Oh,
he's an Ashkenazi Jew from
yeah.
Spain, and
Oh,
he met my grandmother. So I don't know the street he was from, but
maybe we're related.
that'd be great. That'd be great. Get some of your funny.
Oh, you're funny.
All right. So let me ask you: Did you do the same exact routine?
I'd say about 75% of the English one is in the Spanish one. Not everything translated. So there's some stuff that's in one and not in the other, and there's some stuff that I came up with in Spanish that I never translated back to English. So it's almost the same.
And did you have to go there for a couple of weeks and work it out?
I have been going for about maybe the last 8 to 10 years, but I went about a week before the Spanish taping. But I try and do some in New York, and there aren't that many, to be honest. Like, you have to produce them yourself, and they're Latinos, they're not Spaniards, so some of the words are different. But I've done shows in like Costa Rica, Miami, and other Spanish speaking venues in those countries or states. So,
well, let me ask you a question because I think the sense of humor between Latinos and Puerto Ricans and Spaniards would be completely different in so many ways, right?
yeah, I mean, in some ways it's totally different, and in some ways the basic stuff, not basic, but the stuff that we all share, like dating and if I talk about being 6 feet tall or whatever my problem, like all that stuff is universal.
Yeah, the universal stuff is, but when
Yeah.
you get into you can't just make like Latino jokes and white people jokes towards the Spaniards, right?
No, and that's not even jokes I have. Those white
that's right.
people.
Yeah, that's right. No, I'm just
But
saying.
no, I know. But it's kind of a fun game. It's kind of a challenge to be like, I wonder if this one will work. And the weird thing that I've noticed is that I when I translate the English ones, I will not look at the English joke. I'll just be like, oh, the joke about my mom. And I'll start thinking it in Spanish and I'll come up with totally different punchlines and tags. Like, I don't know if there's a different part of your brain that's used in each language, but I have to take those Spanish tags and I'm like, oh, I'm using that in America for sure. Like I'll just bring it back and it almost like they help each other, you know?
Well, let me ask you a question. So you grew up because of your mom. Did you just speak Spanish fluently?
Yeah, I grew up only speaking to her in Spanish. Not like she spoke any English anyway, but I didn't
You didn't
know.
speak any English?
No, when they met, they barely spoke each other's language. They only went out like 4 times and got married.
And how long ago did they have you after that? I mean,
Like 2 years later, they had my sister actually, and then me.
but your mom moved here.
Yeah, as soon as they got
And
married,
she just never bothered to learn English.
now she learned it in after she got married, but she learned. My dad was in the Navy, so he'd go to work, and my mom would hang out with like the military wives and watch General Hospital and all kinds of TV shows and learn. She learned English that way.
That's great.
Yeah.
And have you already figured out like different places where you're gonna? Is there platforms you can put your special on?
Well, the English one is going on Mark Norman's YouTube, but the Spanish one is going on a platform called Filmin, and it's only available in Spain right now. But I am eventually gonna try and get it on like a Latino platform or another one, because I don't want it to just be seen in Spain. I want to be able to expand my fan base with the Latinos.
Yeah, it seems like that's such a huge
Totally.
chunk of the planet.
Yeah. No, that's my goal, definitely. Like, I wanted to do the Spanish one so that I could start touring down in South America and Central America.
Now, does Mark Norman know you're putting it on his YouTube channel?
He doesn't know, so please don't tell him.
I won't say a word.
Please don't say anything. He was actually very kind enough to come up to me before I even taped it. Like, he was like, why don't you put it on mine? So that was really cool.
Idea. That's a great idea. Now,
And
let me ask you, where do you rent an Emmy like that to use for podcast appearances?
I'm sitting in my boyfriend's desk chair, and this is his Emmy. He's a writer, but I put a Post-it with my name on it, and it's been there for years. He never took it off, so I just pretend it's mine.
I one time, I'm not going to say who, but I had a friend, a comedian, and he won an Emmy for writing. This was years ago. Award show monologue, and we were in New York, and I ran into him, and we go up to his hotel room. We were going to smoke some pot, and he had the Emmy. I go, you travel with that thing? And he went, yeah, sometimes I like to travel with it. I thought that was just the strangest thing in the world.
That is very weird. He doesn't take this one anywhere. This one has been here. It's probably stuck there. It just hasn't moved.
I actually used it in Upside of Anger. I had the character takes me on the road with him, and I hope this guy never sees this movie.
That's hilarious. It's kind of heavy to travel with. I can't imagine.
I just think it's the weirdest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But then again, I never won an Emmy. So maybe if I won an Emmy, I would want it with me everywhere I went. It would be like my new pet. I'd get rid of my dogs and just take care of my Emmy.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have. It's definitely a good conversation starter. But I do have to admit that it's not mine. But it was great when he received it because he was out of town. It came in a box, and I was like, clearly you want me to just leave the box unopened. And he was like, no, you can open it. So it was just kind of fun pretending it was.
What did
for
he
me.
win it for?
He's a writer. So he was the head writer on Aubrey Plaza's when she hosted the Independent Spirit Awards.
Oh, great.
A couple years ago. So he actually won it during COVID, which sucked because he won it virtually, like what we're doing right now. So he was wearing his pajama pants And I was like, oh, I can't wait to go to the Emmys. And he's like, we're not going anywhere.
Let me ask you, how long have you been doing stand-up?
About 20 years.
Have you really? Yeah, I can see it.
Really?
Not in your face, obviously.
What about now?
Oh
The
yeah, now I
frustration
see
and
it.
the anxiety?
Oh yeah. No, I just, there's that cliche, it takes 20 years to be just great, but you can just see on your, and I really feel one of the things that, being around stand up so long, and then, I did a 2-year documentary about stand up, and I all my friends are stand ups. You really understand why what makes an audience comfortable. And when
Mhm.
just from the beginning of your special, it's just like you have that thing where you go, she knows what she's doing. She's not worried about anything. She's got the goods, the guns loaded, and I
Thank
think
you.
it takes a long time to get to that, but that's what an audience really needs to intuitively feel to get really comfortable, so they're going to laugh their asses off,
Yeah. No,
That's it.
I think it's funny, but someone after I did the special came up to me and said, it's kind of nice that you waited this long. Like some people maybe just do it too soon, but he was trying to give me a compliment. Like, maybe just waiting so long was helpful.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I can remember back when I was a kid, there were a lot of guys that would get offered the Tonight Show, and they would say, "No, I don't want it. I don't want it.
Wow.
I'm not ready."
Yeah.
And because the guys like a couple classes ahead would say, "You don't want to do the Tonight Show till you have 6 shots, or till and a lot of these guys would get on the Tonight Show, and that was the gateway. That there was one door at that moment, and
What?
it.
I'm
I'm sorry.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, it just
Well,
seems
you're the
like,
one with the Emmy.
yes, I should speak all the time.
Yeah. I don't even know what I'm doing talking right now.
It feels like there was so much pressure back then, because that really was what it was all about, was that late night opportunity,
It was
and
unbelievable.
I can't even imagine, because when I did my first one was Letterman, and when I did that one, that was still there, but the way it's shifted to what it is now, it's just that was part of the reason I think that it was difficult for me to do a special, is because I was still in that mode of like, they're going to call, like, and they meaning anyone,
Right.
because I was used to that with all the late nights or whatever I got. And this do it yourself thing is just a different switch. And I had to be like, no one is contacting you ever. Like, you
That's
have
right.
to do this yourself.
Well, that was like really one of the biggest things when I came back. I was like Super Joe Comedy Store as a kid. I don't know how much you know, but I was like one of the youngest comedians around. I did the Tonight Show as a kid. I had
Yeah.
HBO special as a kid, everything, but when I came back I got an incoming call after 20 some years or something. Do you want to do a documentary about the Comedy Store? And I thought, yeah, I do.
Oh, that was great, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
But and I was fishing for that. So thanks for picking it up.
Do you want this at me? Because I don't think my boyfriend needs it. Do you want it?
He doesn't need it. I just don't. Can you redo the Post-it for me?
Can I keep my name on it for just like one more year, and then you can have it? Okay. Okay.
But anyway, when I came in, I realized right away, watching everybody, that these comics, and they were just killers. They were coming in, and they didn't give a damn who was in the audience. We would all come and go. First thing we would go to the cover booth and go, "Who's here? Who's in the audience?" We always want to know who's in the audience, just in case, like, we got discovered or something, or got a show or got a job. And these people that come in the back, they didn't ever give a damn, because they didn't expect anything.
Mm-hmm.
They were running their own shows, their own corporations. They ran their own businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I wish I had more experience at the Comedy Store. I mean, I'm East Coast, so I have a lot of that with the Cellar.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the
But
same.
yeah, but watching your documentary and just I mean, my name. Oh, by the way, I'm in your documentary because I
Are
did
you?
at one point. You see the wall, and I see my name.
Oh,
I'm
that's
right
great.
there. So thank you. I mean, you didn't ask me if I could be in it, but thank you. I appreciate it.
I think you signed a waiver. You just don't know. By the way, I love that. I love your joke about your name and your special.
Oh, thank you.
This is a good joke.
Thanks. Some of those I haven't done since the special, so it's it's nice to be reminded of it.
And what are you going to do? Do you have to like start over now with brand new stuff?
Well, I mean, because the good thing about waiting 20 years to do a special is that I have a lot of material. So I already have, so much that I've been doing to get ready for the next one. I mean, I'm not doing it soon, but I have a lot.
And what's your life like? I mean, other than, living off your boyfriend's Emmy.
I mostly that. No, yeah. I mean, I travel a lot. I try to go to places and stay longer than if I like the place. I try to enjoy it more. Like I just went to Alaska and I did the gig, but then I stayed another week and a half just to like enjoy. Like, when am I ever going to come here? So I've been traveling a lot. Just in general, but I think that helps just like get material and do stuff like that. And then just writing, I wrote a lot during COVID. I want to write a book. I visit my parents a lot in Virginia. I go to Spain and see my nieces and my sister and her husband. So, and I do hang out with my boyfriend sometimes. So, yeah, it's been 8 years.
Does he do stand-ups?
No, he's a writer. He's a TV writer. So sometimes he does though. Like I had to go to Berlin and Vienna and a couple other cool places. So he came along and did like 5 minutes. Like he
great.
Dabbles in it for fun, but it's not his thing.
Great.
Yeah.
And what about you're going to go out and play clubs, and the special will really help you play clubs, right? Don't you think?
You mean like future stuff?
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, I hope that, that Mark's fans on his YouTube page really like it. And then I'll just be posting clips, as you do, and then do the same for the Spanish one. So hopefully I'll pick up a lot of gigs, from all that. That would be my goal.
It's amazing. It's just amazing to me how, first of all, how hard it is, how much work is involved.
Oh my God. So much. I mean, there's also levels of anxiety I didn't know I had. Like, I kind of did the Spanish one to kind of ease the anxiety of the English one, just to think of it as like, I'll do this extra project and it'll kind of distract me. And it didn't do that at all. It just made me stress about 2 specials.
Yeah, that was a big endeavor, to take on 2 at once. But I just mean like, because I have this. It's really funny. When I got back into stand-up, I went to lunch with like so many of my friends, comedians my age, who were doing it all the years when I wasn't doing it because I was doing other things, and they were going, "Why are you doing it? Why? Nobody gives a shit." And you play to these young audiences, and they're just like, and they didn't. I'm like, you don't understand how great it is. You don't understand how much power we have now, and you can do your own thing, and but by the same token, I took on a podcast and a platform, and I got on social media for the first time. I'd never been on it, and it just. You're right. It's so much anxiety. I tell my wife sometimes, I go, I'm never finished working.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never finished between writing and for the stand-up and writing articles and podcasts. You're never done.
I mean, that's what was so nice about it. Even 20 years ago when I started, was what, and before that, is how simple it was. You would just leave your house to go tell jokes, and then when you weren't at the club or the bar or whatever, you were just writing them. There was
Absolutely.
no
Absolutely.
social. There was like a love for the joke, and now it's there's so much of the love for fame, or the love for becoming an influencer. And we have so many more comics, and you're like, well, do you love comedy as much as I do, or do you just want to show off and have 100,000 followers? Like, it's just such a different world.
In the old days, we really had time to just be good comics and drug addicts.
Yeah.
There was time to be a drug addict.
There's no time.
There's no time now. You just can't be. You have to really have your shit together.
But I mean, isn't that pretty true though? Like, if you look at, I was talking to a comic that opened for me in Nebraska a couple days ago, and we were both like, "Oh no, thanks, we don't need a beer," or no thanks, no drinks. And it's everybody is so healthy now. It's like, "Oh no, I don't eat bread," or whatever, and you can't really be a drunk or a druggie anymore, because you'll be replaced so quickly. Totally. And I think back then you probably were like, well, he's funny, we still need him, let's just wait till he does his drugs.
Yep, absolutely. Listen, but it's gotten that way in everything. I was making movies for years, and the actors and the directors were doing coke, and you just wait till he comes out of his trailer. And nowadays it's like, if he even is high on the way to work, we'll have someone replacing him before he gets there.
I mean, I can't even think of the last time I saw someone wasted at a club. Like, I've seen that, but it's been years.
The owner.
Yeah.
He's got the job. No, but you're right. I just think there's just people have no tolerance anymore. But I also think comedy has gotten so authentic. It's all about who you are, that, if let's be honest, there are some really great comics that are still just lushes and drug addicts, and and their whole thing is about getting drunk. Mark Norman and Shane and all these guys, Rogan and Bert. Their whole thing is about getting loaded, so that still exists.
Right.
But for some reason, they're not people that have let it affect their productivity. Whereas, or Chappelle is, he's on it, but back when I was a kid, the guys that were really making it and doing it and were really messed up, they got away with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, if they're not doing the show tonight, they're not doing the show tonight. I rarely hear about people just canceling a show.
Yeah.
If they're too fucked up. In fact, I never hear about that.
What do you think that is? It's just more life. There are more opportunities now, so they don't want to risk it. They don't want to mess it up.
I think, like I say, there's just people, they're too busy. They have too much responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So that even when they're playing hard, they know there's a limit. I really do. I really do. I think even that sect of the new comedians that are out there, taking the keg with them everywhere they go, which is funny to me, because look, I'm 38 years sober. I was the biggest fuck up drug maniac in the world. I really was. And I was part of a group of comedians that's what we did,
Yeah.
So I see all the humor in it, but I had to stop just to save my life. But I think that those guys, like a guy like Joe Rogan, is too smart to let it get in the way. he's calculated. A guy like Ron White, a guy like Bert Kreischer, you can just see they're much more controlled than we were, even in their lack of control.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, yeah. Everything has kind of its place and its time. And yeah, so I should stop doing heroin, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe less,
Yeah.
a little bit less.
Yeah. I think maybe, and I noticed every time pictures I see of you, you've always got long sleeves on.
Oh, yeah, look, see? Yeah, you're right.
That says everything to me.
Yeah.
But again,
Not-
that'll keep you productive.
I mean, it's working out so far, so why should I stop,
The other thing I was going to talk to you about, which I think is really interesting, and again, I don't know the New York comedy scene very much. I really, went into, I've only been into the Cellar a few times with friends. Like I went in with Dan Soder once, and I
Oh,
went
yeah.
I went in with Chappelle and a group of people one night. But I really haven't even never been on stage there. But one thing I will say, there's just so many great women comics in general right now.
Yeah.
But especially in the East. And I never use the word comedian because I think it's a stupid word. Back in the day, we used to use that word all the time,
Mm-hmm.
Now we just use the N word a lot, But do you know what I'm talking about? I don't hear that. I never heard. No one calls people a comedian.
No.
They're just comics. There's just a lot of killer women comics.
I mean, if they did, it's always someone who introduces you as like, our next comedian is a woman, and you hear less and less of that, which is good. But there are so many more women now that the whole that women aren't funny phase, all that stuff doesn't happen anymore. I don't hear about it because there's so many great women.
When I was growing up, there was Joan Rivers, Lily Tomlin, and then Aline Boozler, and and then maybe in my time, Meryl Marco and Carol Leifer. But I mean, the population of the Jews were bigger than the population of comedians, and that was a fact,
Yeah.
And now I just think it's almost. Sometimes it feels like 50-50.
It really does. I mean, on some shows, you're still like the only one, but it's not. You don't really see it anymore. I mean, I don't see it as much.
And I feel like, for me, although there's some great comics in LA, but the New York comics feel that just like, Jessica Kirson and I don't know, it just feels like you and Adriana Appalucci.
Adriana Appalucci, yeah, she just recorded her special last night. I went to see it.
Oh, that's great.
It's fantastic.
I love her. I think she's fantastic. But you guys just feel like there's a bite to, it's like, I guess you're just used to walking around New York pissed off or something. I don't know. I just love it.
Yeah, there's I don't know. I mean, it does feel like we are. I don't want to say that the West Coast doesn't write, but there's a very writing heavy vibe out here. And maybe there was more before. There felt like there was more of a podcast or I don't know. There was just a difference and maybe more act outs out there and more just writing, just words out here. But yeah, I agree. I mean, you can sometimes tell who's from the East Coast and who's from the West Coast by their stand-up.
Yeah, I think there's just a little different kind of a bite,
Yeah.
There's a little, but I mean, there's some great stand-ups with that, like Eliza has an amazing work ethic, and Whitney, obviously, and Tiffany Haddish works really hard when she's not asleep in her car. But did I just say that out loud? But
yeah, you're fine.
I'm fine. But
yeah.
But I feel like I could just go on and on about some comics back there. Like you're right, they're just writing and just performing in a way that you would only see like a Louis C.K. or Colin Quinn. You didn't see a lot of women kind of writing that way, and I think out in LA, I don't see a lot of women doing that.
Well, maybe it's just sunnier out there and it's hard to to not go outside and play. I don't know.
I also think, to be honest, really, I think you can just get up more in New York. And that's the way it used to be a long time ago when I was getting started. And I think it's really that way now. It's what when I would go to New York, you could do 6 sets a night.
I mean, I remember those days. Now I prefer maybe like 3 or 4, but it's almost like you don't really get 6 anymore because there's so many comics here. But there is that. I lived in LA for about 6 months, and that was one of my biggest signs of depression for me was that I couldn't get up that much. Like I had to drive somewhere, and then if I couldn't get to the next one in time, and here you just jump on the subway, or just I ride those city bikes if I can't get the subway, and I'm there in 2 seconds, and you can try so much, and it's just like that every single night here.
And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And that's and when when I was getting started, there was a real New York LA difference, and that was a big part of it. Guys like Seinfeld and Paul Reiser and Larry Miller and Carol Leifer and that crowd, they were a little sharper. They just, like you say, they were a little more writerly, because I think they just got up more. We were lucky to get 1 or 2 spots every night. If we got 2 spots a night, that was crazy.
But I remember even when I started, there were always these differences. Like you're either and there are comics who are great writers and performers, but you were kind of like pushed over to one side. And I remember I used to get more, you're a great writer, because I was very like shy. So I just kind of stood there and told my jokes. And then someone told me to take an improv class or something and loosen up. And it worked over time. But you do kind of see that. And you'd see that on like panel shows. You'd be able to tell like, oh, that guy's very performery. I bet he's LA, or this one writes, he's a good writer. He's probably from New York.
The other town that was really great, and it has nothing to do with Patrick, but I'll just throw him in, Boston. We always thought, man, the Boston comics were killing.
Yeah.
But
many.
All guys. I can't. I never remember one guy.
Don't forget Janine Garofalo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But yeah, that's right. But she was more of a New York comic, even though she's from Boston. But yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Patrick, you're not supposed to contradict me. That's not your job. You're supposed to make me look good. Jesus Christ. All right, fine. So listen. So your special comes out when? What's the date today? The 5th. Your special comes out the 12th, right?
The 12th on a Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on Mark Norman's YouTube channel. That's the great English one.
Yep.
And
the other one's coming out on Julio Iglesias's channel, right?
The Julio channel, the Film In. It's a streamer in Spain. It comes out Friday, December 15th.
Oh, I thought they were both coming out the same night. Okay.
No, they're like 3 days apart. Yeah.
I understand. Okay, so that's great, and we'll put it up on Stand Up World, and also, what's your tell me again your Instagram.
Everything is at Carmen Comedian. Okay. At Carmen Comedian. So everything will be announced there. I also have a Spanish Instagram, but you don't have to worry about that one. It's not very big, but if you want it, I'll give it to you.
We'll put them all up. We'll put them all up. What's your home phone number?
555
1212.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
I think your special is fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. Please tell all of your friends.
We will. That's what we're doing now.
I mean, even the ones that, don't know what a podcast is.
Well, that's believe me, that's most of them. When I started doing the Comedy Store documentary, I would bring in all the comedians from my era, and it was amazing how little, and these were big names.
Yeah.
How little they knew about podcasts and how little they knew about anybody that was huge. And I knew Bill Burr because I put him in one of my movies because the guy that was building my house was a freak from him on YouTube. And I knew like a lot of these guys because I started the thing, but I would be talking to Leno and Letterman and Jim Carrey and all these guys at the document for the thing. And they would just go like that.
Amazing. Yeah.
Everybody. And then yeah, but nobody makes any money on those podcasts. I said, yeah, they do.
Yeah, a lot.
But then that doesn't help you sell tickets. No, that guy just sold out the Forum. No, he didn't. He never sold out the Forum. He sold out there was no knowledge at all of the underworld. It was hysterical. It really was.
Once you're out of the loop, though, it's so hard to know things. You got to stay in it.
You really do. You really do. And then once you're out of a lot of these guys too, they kind of take pride. And I don't know anybody. That's a dumb brag. I don't know anybody. Okay, I got it. You don't know anybody. But I think it's more fun to know there's so many people and,
It's hard to keep up, though, even with music. I don't even know most of these new musicians.
No, that's a dumb brag.
Yeah. I will try to only brag about Miami now.
There was this guy, there was this producer we used to know, and he used to say to me, he used to say, man, this whole thing with women enjoying sex, that's such bullshit. I've never met one woman who enjoyed sex. So that's the dumbest brag I've ever heard.
That sounds like a book. Like you could just have a book of dumb brags.
I know. Hey, do you know this guy, Jeffrey Asmus?
I know that name. I don't know who that is, though.
Did I say it right, Patrick?
Yeah, Jeff Asmus. He's a New York comic. Yep.
Jeff Asmus. Yeah, he sounds familiar, but I don't.
He's a Comedy Cellar guy.
Okay, I haven't. I mean, I've been on the road. I don't know.
Yeah, he's on the road too.
Is he from Chicago?
He's from the Midwest.
I think I know who he is.
You'd really like him. He's got. Sometimes some of your jokes remind me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's just really clever. You really like him. Anyway.
All right. Well, let's just say that I do because this is going out to the world. So yeah, he's great.
I'll let it out the part where you don't. No, she has no idea who the.
I know everyone. Everyone.
She doesn't know anybody.
I know who he is, though. I actually do. I think he's from Chicago. I hope it's him.
Yeah, sure he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, polish up the Emmy. I hope you get a Spanish Emmy at least for this.
Oh my God! Thank you. That's my goal.
It's really great, and I'd love to meet you one day in person.
Definitely.
And keep it up.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure. And Patrick, I'm sorry Patrick brought the whole thing down a little bit, but other than that, it was great.
He talks a lot.
Can't stop. I can't keep those off. Yeah.
Hey, can I say this? I was going to wear these glasses, but now I'm actually glad I didn't.
I think I like the other ones.
Yeah, me too. But
yeah,
I like yours.
Well, mine are fake. I'm only wearing these because I went to Adrian's special last night, and it started like at midnight. So I got up really early this morning, so I'm very tired. So I wanted to look good for your podcast.
Well, they look very good on you, I got to tell you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
maybe I'll start wearing them.
Yeah,
but yeah, they're totally fake.
I think you should do what you can to get poor eyesight very quickly.
Oh, you don't need poor eyesight anymore. You can just have fake eyesight. Look.
Yeah, but in person, when people,
Oh.
if you know that those are fake.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
fake. I have real glasses too, but I wanted to wear these for you.
All right.
Yeah.
Really
Thank
great.
you.
Really nice meeting you, Carmen.
Nice to meet you too.
And good luck with your special.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. That was good. Episode 52 is in the can. God damn. What do you think, Patrick? We're racking them up. We're learning. We're growing.
It's crazy. 50 episodes in.
I love it. I love doing this show. I really do. I love doing it with you, buddy. You're so good at it.
Well, thank you. I love doing it too.
And I just, Carmen's great. She really is.
Funny.
She really is. I'll tell you, I really highly recommend people to check out her special. Go see her in New York live or on the road. She's a powerhouse. She's a powerhouse. We got to get Adriana Appalucci. If I'm saying her name right.
Crazy. Adriana Iappalucci, I think is how you say it.
Appalucci, I think, or maybe, I don't know. Adriana Mamalochi. Can you get her? Can you get her on the show, Patrick?
Yep.
Can you pull some friggin' weight? Can you do that for me?
I will.
All right, thanks. All right, that's this week's show. Carmen Lynch's special comes out on the 12th in English, on the 15th in Spanish, the 16th in Hebrew, and the 17th it plays to the Pygmies. So we will have the links up for you. Thank you very much. We are up on Apple, Spotify, Doggy Doo, and where else? What other? Every porthole you can think of. Every orifice you can think of. We are up. Check us out. Thank you so much for the support. Love you. See you next week.